What's going on, guys? It's Hunter here, and today we're going to be going in to my week 5 through 6 top 25. I don't want to waste your guys' time. Okay, here we are. Here it is. Okay, this is the top 25. This week we had a lot of shakeups, and we had some surprising blowouts, and we'll get to those later. But as you guys know, we're going to start with the honorable mentions here, going from right to left. So we got UTSA. Okay, not a lot of people know about this team. They're undefeated. They haven't looked the best, I mean, they've handled who's in front of them. They're going to have a really weak schedule. It's going to be really hard for them to get into the top 25. But yeah, there's UTSA. Coming next is Pitt. Pitt is a team that is 4-1. They have one loss. I can't remember who their loss was. It was a bad loss, so it wasn't a good loss. But they've looked really good recently. They just blew out a Georgia Tech team. And, yeah, and now even they had a close game at Tennessee. That game doesn't look as bad now as Tennessee looked really good in their last game. So, this Pitt, probably not a top 25 team, but just a team to keep their eye on, especially if they figure it out. Baylor's next up, okay? Baylor they just lost. Okay, they just lost. They were undefeated. They lost a good little game to Oklahoma State, which now I have 12th in the poll. That's not an awful loss looking back at it. That team is still a good team. I don't know. They're probably a top 25 team. We'll see. That's why they're in the honorable mention spots. Really, just keep your eyes on this team. This team could be ranked going forward. Next up, we got Oregon State. They got one loss as well. They're like a team kind of like Pitt, where their one loss is pretty bad, but they've looked pretty good recently. Michigan State, they have 2 losses, but their wins are really impressive. They've beat North Carolina State, and they have beat Texas A&M, which is the next team I have on my honorable mentions, Texas A&M. They have 2 losses. The real reason this team's not in the top 25 is just because their offense can't move the ball, just similar to the team I have in front of them, which is Clemson. And the only reason they're in the honorable mention is the talent's so good that maybe whenever they heal up, they'll be able to do a little better. But regardless, if they're at full strength, they still can't move the ball on offense. All right, let's start the top 25. Okay, first thing I want to get out of the way, this Maryland thing right here. Okay, I'm going to take my mouse, hover over it. This Maryland thing, that's not supposed to be there. Ignore this. That's not an honorable mention. That's not a top 25. That Maryland is nothing. Okay, that's literally nothing. Ignore that Maryland thing, okay? All right, number 25 is San Diego State. This team's undefeated. They haven't looked the best doing it, but they haven't lost, and they keep winning. You gotta put them somewhere. They're above those honorable mention teams for sure. Number 24 is NC State. They're solid wins against Clemson. Doesn't look the best now because Clemson struggled with Boston College. Boston College is a pretty good team, but NC State has looked pretty good, and I'm still going to keep them here at 24. 23 is SMU, another team I believe is undefeated. They have looked pretty good. If they're not undefeated, they got one loss, and they've looked really good with a win over TCU, which just gave Texas kind of a hard time. Number 22, Auburn. They just picked up a good win on the road here against LSU. Pretty impressive there. Yeah, besides Auburn, they had that weird game against Georgia State. Don't know. They played Penn State pretty well. I'll put them 22. 21, we got Wake Forest, a team that's undefeated and leading the ACC right now. They had a little bit of a scare over this weekend, but they won, and that's all that matters, and they'll move up a little bit. 20s, Ole Miss. They got absolutely road stomped by Alabama, but it's the number 1 team in the country. I'm just going to drop them to 20. I was right, though. My last poll had them 15. That was kind of a question I'll put there. A lot of people had them in, the top 12, the top 10. I wasn't so high on them. They didn't beat nobody, and it showed them when they played Alabama. I still think they're a top 25 team, though, and I have them at 20. Right there in front of them is the other team that got absolutely road stomped, and that's Arkansas. They look like they got beat worse than Ole Miss, but I think they're better than Ole Miss. Those two teams play each other this week, by the way, is Arkansas and Ole Miss. It's a game to look out for. But Georgia absolutely road stomped Arkansas, and I think that's why Arkansas is 19 here and not higher. Number 18 is Texas. Man, they looked I'm about to say good, but they looked all right. They have figured out something, and they keep winning. They have a big game against Oklahoma this week. I cannot wait for that game at 12, Red River rivalry, and I'm looking forward to that game. Go Horns, baby. Go Horns. Okay. Number 17 is the Florida Gators. They just had a heart-crushing loss. Literally just gut-punching to Kentucky. Florida just came off a massive game against Alabama where they barely lost, and everyone was so hyped on Florida. I was hyped on Florida. I got a friend who's a diehard Florida fan. I feel for you, Antonio. I'll say your name. I feel for you, man. Okay? I feel for you. All right. Poor Florida. I still think they're a really good team. I think they're better than 17. I think if you play Kentucky neutral ground or at Florida, I think that game's 2 touchdowns. But just that crowd and the quarterback situation, they got to figure out quarterback. Emory Jones does not need to be the quarterback. But that's what it is, okay? Number 16 is Notre Dame. They just lost to Cincinnati. Cincinnati's a really good football team. Notre Dame, I think, lost to them by 10 points. I'm not sure. Notre Dame played their best. I think Cincinnati's a really good football team. So I'm going to drop Notre Dame to 16. 15 is Michigan State. They looked pretty bad over this weekend, but they won. And it's kind of the same thing about Wake Forest. You look bad, doesn't matter. Keep winning. Kind of like Auburn, Georgia State. Doesn't matter. You won the game, move on, okay? 13, Arizona State. Everyone gave up on this team. These are my little sweethearts. These are my sweethearts, okay? I still had them ranked in the poll before. No one else did. Okay, I didn't give up on Arizona State. What do? They go on the road and smash mouth UCLA. Okay, and that's awesome. Arizona State's my little sweethearts. They're going at 13. You know, go Devils. I think it's Sun Devils. Okay. Number 12 is Oklahoma State. They just got a really good win at home against Baylor. Nothing to say there. This was just kind of a cancel-out team. They just moved up because the teams in front of them lost, and they had a really good win against Baylor. They looked all right. They looked better than what people thought they would look. Number 11, Kentucky. Just talked about this game against Florida. You know, I was saying how sad it is for Florida. They got gut punched and everything. Wow, Kentucky. Wow, Wildcats. Good win. Good win. Now you're undefeated. You are literally undefeated with a top 10 win. Now it's 17th, but at the time, top 10 win. A team that just almost beat Alabama. You just beat them. You just beat them, Kentucky. Okay? I have you here at 11th. You keep winning, you're going to keep moving up. Okay? You have a shot coming up against Georgia. Okay? Coming up. I don't know how many weeks that game is, but it's going to happen. And when you play that team, you got to win. You win, man, if you win that game. Geez, the ceiling. Okay? But yeah, what a surprise the Wildcats are. Number 10, Coastal Carolina. They looked really good this past weekend, even though it was against nobody. And the week before that, they were kind of scary. I'm at 10. Again, I said this in the last video. That's kind of as high as they can go, unless they just look really good, because these teams below them are going to play tougher competition, where Coastal Carolina is just not really going to do that. So Kentucky, Oklahoma State, Arizona State, BYU, teams like that, they're going to get a chance to pass them up. That's just what it is, okay? Ohio State, number 9. Everyone's gave it up on this team. I have not. They're still my pick to win the Big Ten. Ohio State they looked really good their last game. They went on the road, I think, and played Maryland. I think it was on the road. My God. They absolutely killed them up and down the field. Killed them. And, yeah. It was like in the third quarter, and they had like 50 points. Okay, Ohio State's offense, even though their defense is like struggling, their offense scores so many points. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous, okay? Number 8's Oregon. All right. The only reason they're 8, really, is just because they beat Ohio State head-to-head. All right? And Oregon, man, it's just you can't lose that game on the road against Stanford. That's kind of like that Florida and Kentucky loss. It just sucks. Okay, you could probably throw Stanford in the honorable mentions, I'm going to be honest with you, but they're just not there. Okay, they're just not what it is. But, yeah, that's a sad loss for Oregon there. But season's not over. One loss, Pac-12 champion, you never know. You could definitely make it. One loss Pac-12 champion. With the way this year's going, it just depends how the people in front of you do. So keep winning. Keep winning. Number 7's Michigan. Man, okay. Michigan versus Ohio State. Hair in my mouth. Michigan versus Ohio State at the end of the year is going to be one of the best games in this season. I cannot wait. I literally cannot. I mean, I couldn't tell you who's going to win. Michigan, everyone said against Wisconsin that run game wasn't going to work, and it didn't. It didn't, but man, they kept going, and their defense held up. I know Wisconsin has an awful offense, but their defense held up, and they just kept running the ball, man, and hats off. They ended up winning that game by like 15, 2 touchdowns, 3 touchdowns, something like that. Hats off to Michigan, man. They played really good, and they looked good. Number 6 is Oklahoma. I think they had a scare, but it was a scare against a team that's owned them for the past couple of years, and that's Kansas State, and they won. So I can't really move them anywhere for that. Penn State had 8th last time. Okay, I've finally moved them up. They looked good. They played Indiana. I know a lot of people gave it up on the Indiana team. Okay, I don't think they're a top 25 team or anything like that. I don't even have them in honorable mentions. I still think Indiana's a good little team, and Penn State, you know, for the most part, manhandled them. And Penn State's a top 5 team, in my opinion. Even though it's weird saying I have Ohio State. See, you got Michigan, Penn State, Iowa, Ohio State. Man, Big Ten's really good this year. It's really good. So yeah, I don't know who's going to win. I still say Ohio State. I just trust them more, I guess. Number 4, Cincinnati. Let me tell you something. I said, if you watch the podcast, if you haven't, go back and watch it, because we got a new one coming out tomorrow night, by the way. But I said on that podcast, and Antonio called me crazy. And he might be right. But I said the winner of Cincinnati and Notre Dame was going to make the playoffs. Because in my opinion, the winner of that game is going undefeated. And you can't leave out an undefeated Notre Dame team. And this year, I don't think you can leave out an undefeated Cincinnati team. So, Cincinnati won. If I was making my playoff predictions right now, Cincinnati would be in there. Would they be 4? Probably. But they'd be in there. They'd be in there. I think they're going to go undefeated. I think they're around the table. SMU's good. SMU's going to be their tough. Yeah, that'll be a tough game. Cincinnati just can't drop one. They can't take any game lightly. They have to go run the table, and it's their year. They can do that, in my opinion. Number 3 is Iowa. My lord, everything's set up for an upset. They play, I think it was Maryland. Yeah, because Ohio State played Rutgers. But they played Maryland. I think I said Ohio State, Maryland. Okay, I meant Ohio State, Rutgers. Iowa played Maryland, I believe, on Friday night. Everything was on the upset. Maryland, an undefeated team, packed house. Iowa on the road, going there on a Friday night where nobody was watching the game. You guys know, if you watch college football a lot of the time, crazy things happen on Fridays, and what happens? What happens? Everyone picked the upset. What happens? Iowa goes in there and beats them like 50 to like 14. Picks off to his little brother 6 times. I think that's what the number was. That's crazy. That is crazy. This Iowa team is really good. Their defense is solid, and if they can start scoring 50 points on offense, that's a really dangerous team. That's a really dangerous team. I don't think their offense is going to be able to do that week in and week out, but if they're getting the turnovers, it sure helps that offense a lot. So, good for Iowa. Number 2, Georgia. Number 1, Alabama. I'm going to put these in a little group because from 2 down, okay, from 2 down, a lot of people always say there's a big drop-off, and I don't think there's a big drop-off. But Alabama and Georgia today showed that yesterday, showed that they are one of the 2 best teams in the country. All the pressure was in Alabama. I'm going to be honest with you. 2, Georgia blows out Arkansas, takes care of their game at noon, puts all the pressure on Alabama, saying, all right, Alabama, make this game against Ole Miss at least close, and we pass you up. In my opinion, that's what it came down to. And what does Alabama do? They smoke Ole Miss. Smoke them. I don't know if you guys watched the game, but Lane Kiffin, right before the game, they were doing an interview with him, and he takes off his headset, doesn't answer any of the questions, and says, get your popcorn ready. All right? I was pumped. I was fired up. Lane Kiffin got me. I thought they had a chance, man. And Nick Saban said, nope, smoked them up and down that field. The only reason this game was remotely 20 points, I think is what it was, ended up being something like that, was just because Ole Miss got some late touchdowns. Okay, if you watch that game, Alabama's just too good, man. The fourth down stops is what got them. All right, guys. And that will be it. That's my video. Take your last look again. I want to remind everybody, this Maryland thing right here shouldn't be there. Okay, that's nothing. All right, that's my fault. That's on me. But besides that, hats off to Alabama and Georgia this weekend. To all the teams that upset people. And if your team took an upset, it's all right. You know, if you've watched my past videos or anything, you know I'm a Clemson fan, so I know how it feels. All right, and I'll see you guys in the next one.